has been filed by the leader of opposition Shibpur at the Calcutta High Court, which will come up for hearing on Monday. Once again, it's an all-out battle between the BJP and the TMC. The BJP calls the violence a result of the appeasement politics, while the TMC pins the blame on VHP and other right-wing organizations who organize the Ram Navami Shobha Yatra. While the unfortunate normalization of violence in the state of West Bengal due to so-called provocation should not make us blind to the fact that such instances and communal flare-ups have been a stinging perpetual reality of West Bengal's politics. Well, behind this hate design, who exactly is responsible? We discuss on Brass Tacks tonight. First up, a special report. Communal clashes in West Bengal's Howrah during a Ram Navami procession on Thursday. Several vehicles were torched, stones pelted, and shops ransacked when clashes broke out between two groups. Police in riot gear fired tear gas shells as mobs went on a rampage. Fresh violence was reported from the area on Friday as well.
As you can see, huge forces are there with all ADG level officers are there right now, and they are trying to dominate this area. There was a sudden tension in this area after 12 o'clock, and there was a retaliation. Which group, in what way, that's still not clear.
Political tempers flared amid the violence. Bengal Chief Minister Mamata Banerjee claimed the procession took an unauthorized route in order to target one particular community.
তোমাদের মিছিল করতে কেউ বারণ করেনি তুমি তরোয়াল নিয়ে বুলডোজার নিয়ে মিছিল করবার পারমিশন অধিকার তোমায় কে দিয়েছে
Leader of opposition and Mamata's nemesis Shibpur has sought an NIA probe into the violence.
The Mamataji is now very scared. She is feeling fear psychosis. Due to this reason, this type of unethical work doing by her police Howrah Commissionerate.
Home Minister Amit Shah spoke to the Governor of Bengal as well as the state BJP President to inquire about the situation. The ruling Trinamool Congress, though, claimed that the violence was plotted and executed by the BJP.
2 दिन बाद 27 तारीख को वो गए गृह मंत्री अमित शाह से मिलने आधा घंटा का बैठक हुआ और वहां से निकल के अगला दिन कलकत्ता आए और उसका अगला दिन कलकत्ता में एक जगह है शाम बाजार वहां पे बैठक करके मीटिंग करके वो पब्लिकली मीडिया के सामने बोल रहा है कल टीवी में नजर रखना.
The BJP hit back, accusing the TMC of lying and endangering Hindus.
ऐसा तस्वीर बंगाल से आते हैं, विजुअल आते हैं, हम लोग देखते हैं और ये स्वीकार नहीं होता है कि बंगाल में अभी हिंदू का अभी जान खतरे में है.
As the war of words over the Ram Navami violence escalates, who is behind the hate design? The West Bengal governor has released a statement on the violence in Howrah. He's called it a highly provocative act and vows action against the culprits. Governor has called for a compliance report in the matter. That's the word coming in from the governor's office. Those are the details. You'd remember that the governor has also been spoken with. The Union Home Ministry spoke to the governor's office on this entire issue. Well, clearly this is a political issue between the TMC and the BJP, apart from a very sensitive law and order situation which the state government is bound to maintain on the ground to ensure that any kind of unruly instances or elements are not able to disturb the peace on the ground. Well, let's take these questions to our guest as well, who are joining us on the broadcast, who is responsible for this hate design, whether the BJP has any substance to back their claims. Joining us on the broadcast is Mr. Tathagat Roy, who is a former governor of Tripura and Meghalaya and the former Bengal BJP president. Sushmita Dev of the TMC is also joining us on the broadcast. Saurav Sikdar, who is the BJP West Bengal spokesperson. Tausif Ahmed Khan, lawyer and a political analyst, and Nirmal Kaul, former IPS officer. Good evening to all of you. Thank you so much for joining us on the broadcast. Mr. Tathagat Roy, I'm coming to you first and taking in a view from you. Sir, I want to understand from you that what kind of peaceful procession it really is if the people participating in that procession are wielding swords and threatening people with some kind of slogans.
See, I refuse to believe that version given by the government, state government. What I would say is that if such a thing was in the minds of the BJP processionists, the police, who are a wing of the state government, they would certainly have some intelligence about it. They would not have allowed the procession to take the route that the procession actually took. In fact, the procession took the route which was prescribed by the police. A canard is being floated by none less than the chief minister that the procession had changed the route, and as a result of that, a lot of trouble has happened. That is absolutely untrue. And the procession was going along its prescribed route. That is number one. Number two is that if the BJP had some such nefarious, idea in its mind, then what the hell is this?
So we can hear you. We can hear you just fine. Please.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
If the BJP had some such idea in its mind, then the police or the state administration should have had, as I said, some intelligence about it and should have taken corrective steps. In fact, all the vituperations that we have heard from the chief minister downwards, we have all heard after this trouble started. We have all heard this, that the BJP is behind this and all that after it.
Okay.
And among the chief minister's utterances, there are one or two things which deserve particular attention.
Okay.
One is about the route,
Yes.
which is untrue, as I already said. The second thing is that this is clearly a communal fracas. The most unfortunate thing of India.
Sir,
But
these are two very specific points that you've raised, and let me bring in Sushmita ji also into the discussion.
No. Let me just
Sure, sir. Sure. Wrap your point. Wrap your point.
No. I'll just take 30 more seconds.
Sure, sir.
You see, Chief Minister said that during Ramzan, the people who observe Roza, they don't do anything evil. Now, this is clearly giving a clean check to one of the groups.
Yep.
And I simply can't swallow this, that the Chief Minister is taking the side of one group. He's saying that this group won't do anything wrong. That means that the other group is doing wrong.
It shows, according to you, it shows a bias in the mind of the chief minister.
Absolutely,
that's your argument.
Absolutely,
Three points you've raised, sir. I'm going to ask Sushmita ji one pointed question. Sushmita ji, let's presume, for the sake of the argument, that this procession took it, quote unquote, unauthorized route. Does that give authority to any lumpen elements to pelt stones, to take law into their own hands, or to burn vehicles? And the kind of statements that the BJP is quoting the chief minister of making, does that behove the mind of an elected chief minister, keeping in mind that you're supposed to be without fear or favor to any particular community or any group?
It's a very long question, but let me break it up.
Sure.
First of all, I think the chief minister should not be misquoted by somebody, even if you're representing a party that loses to her an election. Chief Minister Mamata Banerjee, in two national channels, one Bengali and one English, categorically said that anybody who's indulging in a criminal activity, I will not look at their religion. Calcutta police will take immediate action. Number two, Abhishek Banerjee did a press meet at 5 o'clock and he literally threw a challenge to say that where is the permission for this procession for Ram Navami. Please understand that such incidents have happened before in Howrah, and that's why the Kolkata police held a joint meeting and put forward some conditions and some requirements for this procession to take place, to which the organizers did not reply. And I have documents to prove that. Number three, Chief Minister of West Bengal has repeatedly said, not today, but even yesterday and day before, that Bengal is a state where various festivals are celebrated. There is Saraswati Puja, there is Durga Puja, there is Christmas. So it is very strange that only during Ram Navami these problems happen. And she made a request that there should be no clash of two processions being held by two religious orders. And I don't think there's any need to twist her words. Anybody can replay what she said. She's on record saying it. Secondly, let's come to the point of bias that Tathagat ji is saying. If you're talking about bias, then I ask you a pertinent question. That the Home Minister of India is not the BJP's Home Minister. He's a Home Minister of the country. And as a Home Minister of the country, he could have picked up the telephone and spoken to the Chief Minister of Bengal and asked her what is happening. Instead, he picks up the phone and talks to the governor, which itself reeks of bias that he's already made up his mind about who's at fault and who he is going to allow a scot-free walk. The Home Minister, in his right, can call up any dignitary, any constitutional post, but the right thing for him to do and to show the fact that he is not biased, he could have called up the Chief Minister of Bengal, but
one
he did
interjection.
not.
One
Instead,
interjection.
he called the governor, and I think that reeks of bias.
Okay, talking about bias. Talking about bias.
And last but not the least,
talking about bias.
Like
one interjection, ma'am. Ma'am, one interjection.
Yes.
September 21, and this is a report of 2017 that I'm reading from our publication. Calcutta High Court slams Mamata Banerjee government over Durga Puja idol immersion notification in West Bengal. The High Court came heavily on the Mamata Banerjee government for not allowing a particular community to have the idol immersion according to their faiths and belief. And even at that time, the criticism of the government was, this was much before the BJP dominated the scene as the principal opposition party, that various administrative decisions are being taken with a certain degree of communal bias. And even at that point, it was not the BJP, but the High Court that had slammed the Mamata Banerjee government.
Listen, if the High Court has slammed the Mamata Banerjee's government, even when the BJP was not in power, I cannot comment on that, but I can tell you this much, that I think your viewers realize that wherever there is communal tension, whenever there is communal tension, it helps only one party, that's the Bharatiya Janata Party. Please believe me, that's what they thrive on, and that's how they manage their vote banks. No chief minister would want any kind of instability or a law and order situation in Bengal, in any state, especially a communal one. There can be no doubt about it that the Home Minister of India, in the Parliament, in his reply to a question that has been asked, has given figures between 216 and 21 to show how communal tension has increased in this country. And there's one single reason for it, is because Bharatiya Janata Party has consistently misused the Hindu religion for their own political purpose.
Sushmita ji,
and to keep communal tension
is asking a very pointed question.
There's nothing new
that
about
this is
it.
a pot that the BJP wants to keep simmering because it benefits you. The politics of polarization benefits the BJP, and that's exactly what you're pestering in the state of West Bengal. That's exactly what you're ensuring is on a rise in the state of West Bengal ever since the party has dominated the place of the principal opposition party. Tathagat ji.
See, this is a little ridiculous what Sushmita ji has been saying, that the politics of polarization and communal trouble helps only BJP. See, Mamata Banerjee is on record to have said that Muslims are her dudhel gai. That's an expression in Bengali which means milch cows. Dudhel gai, milch cows. They are her milch cows. And it is a fact of politics. Anybody who follows the politics of West Bengal knows it pretty well, that it is the Muslim vote bank which keeps Mamata Banerjee intact, on which she relies with her eyes closed. I'll give you one more example. During the anti-CAA agitation, there was anti-CAA agitation all over the country. But nowhere as severe as in the Murshidabad district, which has got a 65% minority population. And there was unspeakable vandalism, mostly targeting the railways. As a result of which there was total bedlam in that time. The chief minister did not say one word against this kind of vandalism, the kind of people who are indulging in this kind of vandalism, and did not did not take any action against the vandals.
Okay.
So
Okay.
so it is preposterous to say that politics of polarization helps only the BJP when the chief minister is on record openly having said that they are
and I partly agree with you there, sir, that it's unfortunate that the state of West Bengal has a history of political violence post-independence, and that is a trend that perpetually has continued. Can we really pin it on the BJP? Sushmita ji continues to be with us on the broadcast, but I want to bring in other panelists as well. Tausif Ahmed Khan, coming to you, I want to touch upon this point of unauthorized diversion that this procession had taken. So there is a piece of paper that the BJP has put out where they had put in this application and said, we want the permissions, give us those permissions. Sushmita ji is saying those permissions were not given, and in fact there were certain directions that were given to them. That be aside, but the thing is that if you enter quote unquote an unauthorized area, or the procession takes a route which was not really permitted to you, does that give any kind of elements the authority to indulge into violence and arson? Is that an argument that the state machinery, law and order machinery, or the ruling government of the day is going to accept?
Look hear what you are saying. You're saying that does that give an excuse to the authority to indulge into arson and rioting? What are you saying?
No. I am saying. No. Let me clarify so that you can answer my question correctly. Does that give authority to any lumpen elements or any kind of anti-social elements to indulge into any kind of violence? Can we have an explanation of violence coming in from the state machinery that just because a procession went from a certain area that was not authorized, hence we had a violence? I'll come to you, Sushmita ji.
That is not a question of giving authority. That is a question of focusing on the conspiracy behind it. That there are lumpen elements. There are elements who are not the local residents. There are elements who have come from outside, members of BJP, Bajrang Dal and radical organizations who are present, who have joined these processions, creating trouble in the state. Mamata Banerjee has categorically said this. On the basis of the intelligence received, on the basis of the statement from the police, on the basis of 31 arrests already made in this case. We all know if BJP is active in the state, BJP has targeted that particular area. Last year also there was violence, and all precautions have been taken by the chief minister herself, continuously making this a statement not to indulge in violence. And BJP leader threatening that I will bring arms in the procession. Mamata Banerjee questioning that if you bring arms, you will be dealt with fist hand. Law will take its own course. Then why are BJP elements brandishing revolver in this procession?
Tausif ji, 2 points. If you can speak on that, and then I'll go to other guests as well. If the state government is aware that this BJP elements are indulging into this kind of violence, or they have a grand design to do something like this, why weren't preventive arrests made in the state? Detention is something that the state government has the power to do so. You rightly pointed out that in the similar area, in the same district, we had seen problems emerge even last year. And if there was already a precedent in place, the state government had ample reason to act with some kind of precaution.
You see, in hindsight, it is always 50-50. So you can now question that, Miss Mamata Banerjee could have.
You can't have it both ways, sir. Sir, you can't have it both ways.
No, she did control. The Howrah police controlled the situation very well. And despite all the effort by the lumpen elements to explode this into a scenario where things would have gone really out of control. And Mamata Banerjee has promised all those people whose shops have been burned, all those people who have been at loss for one or the other way, that state will compensate them. People who are indulged and found to be guilty, indulging in arsoning,
I think you're best placed to answer this question. Is it true that the BJP workers on the ground were brandishing swords or, putting out their revolvers, had arms in their hands, and were out there to create trouble? That's the allegation which is being put on you. Saurav.
Videos. Yes, there are videos.
Well, how come Mr. Tausif can say the person has been seen with a revolver that he is a BJP person? Is that proof that he's a BJP
Please.
person? Or like TMC, Calcutta or West Bengal police, who mostly acted like a TMC cadre, they make out the cases, false cases, like thousands of BJP workers are suffering. But my question is, why today there was a 144 imposed on that area? Why again violence has taken place today? Now, if are we going to are we going to believe this police who are stood there with rapid action force when particularly some houses, some shops were vandalized today? I'm talking about today. That's why our state president Dr. Sukanto Majumdar asked for a NIA inquiry. Our leader of opposition, Mr. Subendu Adhikari, has knocked the door of High Court for a central government inquiry, because these police, we don't believe they are acting as a TMC cadre. And
you have made that petition before the Calcutta High Court in a PIL, and we'll have to see, Sauravji, if that is accepted or not. Before I go back to Tathagat Roy and Sushmita Dev, Nirmalji, coming to you, the role and the manner in which the West Bengal police has handled this entire situation is being questioned by the BJP. Is it mere politics, or that you find any substance to all these allegations?
I think the fact that the traditional route the procession is taken, and the traditional route is, they've been always taking this route, as per my understanding, this particular procession. And the state government has been coming down heavily, not allowing processions or altering their routes, which have been there for hundreds of years. Like in Navadvip this year itself, this very Ram Navami yesterday. They had to go to High Court to allow their procession, which has been there for centuries, to be carried out. And because the government had said no, the police had not given a license. The government had taken a view that no, there is a, now that the demography is changed, and now that there's too many Muslims in that particular traditional route, or even in that place, particular district, this procession should not be allowed. So that is not the way. I think what is happening is that wherever the demography is substantially altered, where the numbers of Muslims have gone up, they do not want this procession to carry on. And historically, it has been so. You see, 1930 to 1938 in Aligarh, after Aligarh became a university town and the demography changed there, this is way before independence, the Ram Leela procession was not allowed. So this is the thinking, that Muharram and Ram Navami, Muharram is for them a show of strength, for the Muslim community. Okay. And they do not want Ram Navami to be anywhere near their show of strength. So if there are people brandishing, revolvers or guns or whatever is turned out in the video, I'm sure they should be arrested under Arms Act.
Under the Arms Act,
action should be taken.
Yeah,
but as I see in these riots, you don't need to complain on national TV to take action there. It is very much your right, the police right to do so. Okay, and the fact is that when the first incident took place, after that a lot of restraint, gravitas should have been there, not politicians making irresponsible statements.
Well, now Nirmalji, section 144 has been imposed in that area. I want to give last 5 minutes to Tathagat Roy and Sushmita Devji. Sushmita ji, coming back to you, if there are BJP workers out there brandishing swords and revolvers, arrest them, put them behind the bars, book them under Arms Act, take stringent action. You can't wait for this kind of violence to spill on the streets. And also the argument that violence is not a new factor in Bengal politics post the emergence/re-emergence of BJP. It has always been, unfortunately, a factor of Bengal's politics.
You see, you were telling me arrest them, do this, do that. Obviously, they will. And one of your panelists has already said there have been 31 arrests. So please believe me, when Mamata Banerjee is on record to say that she will take every step legally and make sure that irrespective of who belongs to which community and which religion, in fact, she said these are criminals and antisocials, and their religion is not relevant.
Sushmita ji, can I ask you something very, very point blank? Why can't a Ram Navami procession go through a Muslim-dominated area? What's the problem with that?
Listen, I'll tell you something.
Sure.
When a law and order situation comes up, okay, it's not black and white. So you can ask me these pointed questions. Either you leave it to the police to decide what has to be done to maintain law and order, and not be drawing lines here and making specific rules there. That police has a discretion to decide what is the best thing to do in a situation like this, given what's happened in Howrah. And I have minutes of the meeting. They held 3 to 4 meetings in the month of March to look at the situation, that what is it that can be done that everything goes peacefully. So please give them some benefit of the doubt. You can't say ये भी करो, वो भी करो, ये क्यों नहीं किया, वो क्यों नहीं किया.
नहीं सुष्मिता जी, ऐसा नहीं
So
है,
what
ऐसा
I'm
जी
saying
नहीं,
is,
ऐसा बिल्कुल नहीं है.
I'm just saying, this is not an exact science where you'll ask me a specific question. I'll be able to tell you why the police did this and why they didn't do that.
Ma'am, with due respect,
Police, if the
I
law
understand the
is there
nuanced
and if
situation
they
that you're
feel-
talking about.
And if they feel that there can be 2 different routes, surely it's in the interest of the people. They're not going to say, okay, now come on a head-on clash.
No. You're right that you can't create a situation where there would be a clash, but at the same time, passing through a particular community-dominated area should not be seen in argument as some kind of provocation.
Yes.
Is my limited
Just
argument.
a second.
Tathagat ji,
Yes,
I have last 2 minutes. I have last 2
ideally
minutes on the
you're
show.
right.
Yes.
Ideally, you're right.
Yeah.
That's the ideal situation in a country.
No.
Yeah.
Are you
But it's
going
not.
to ask me a question?
Tathagat ji, Sushmita ji, let me give the last 2 minutes to the gentleman here. Tathagat ji, the politics of polarization of the BJP is something that not just TMC but various opposition parties have spoken of. The argument that the TMC is raising is that yes, political violence is a problem in the state of West Bengal. Yes, there are communal tensions, and yes, ideally this situation should have not emerged. But you are provoking these situations only for your own political benefits because you don't have any other substantial issues to serve the people.
No, keep that aside. What substantial issues Mamata Banerjee is addressing is known to the people of this state. How she is taking care of the unemployment problem, how she is taking care of the law and order problem, how she is taking care of the widespread theft and widespread theft and dacoity and wrongdoing in the recruitment of teachers is known to everyone. But Sushmita ji, I request you, I have not interfered when you were talking, you please don't do that. Now, the next thing.
Let Mr. Roy finish his argument. Sushmita ji, my request. Yes, sir. Sir, please go ahead. Sir, please go ahead.
This is a clear indication. You see, Tausif Ahmed Khan spoke about intelligence. If intelligence was there that BJP would create trouble, then why permit the procession at all? And this thing about Abhishek Banerjee saying that where is the permission? This is a preposterous thing. If there is no permission, then BJP, the police should have arrested.
There is no
Stop
permission.
the procession
There
right
is
in
no
the beginning.
Well, I'm completely short of
Once
time.
again,
Mr. Roy, I'm sorry I have to interrupt you there, sir. Sushmita ji, I'm sorry I'm short of time there. I thank all my panelists for joining us on the broadcast. As I said in the beginning of the show, it's unfortunate that political violence has always been a factor in West Bengal's politics. And once again, the stage is set for the confrontation between the TMC and the BJP. With that, we are slipping into a very short break. But before that, let's tell you a little bit more about the launch of Neeta Mukesh Ambani Cultural Center in Mumbai this evening. While it was a star-studded affair, we leave you with these visuals. Have a look at these visuals and thank you for watching.
ना एक ही परिवार बैठ जाए तो सारे फैसले हो जाते देवगौड़ा जी का, और यहाँ 3-4 परिवार बैठ जाए तो फैसले, तो उनके लिए बड़ा सरल है। हमारे यहाँ लाखों कार्यकर्ताओं से चरणबद्ध चर्चा करनी होती है तो थोड़ी देर लगती है भैया, हम थोड़े स्लो भी है।
जेडीएस की बात करी तो लोगों का ये भी कहना है कि जेडीएस जो है वो भारतीय जनता पार्टी की बी टीम है, इसको आप कैसे देखते हैं?
देखिए, फिर से एक बार आप स्टडी करे बगैर का सवाल कर रहे हैं। गत चुनाव में हम सबसे ज्यादा सीटों के साथ एक नंबर की पार्टी बने थे। हमारी 104 सीटें थी, जेडीएस की 34 सीटें थी, और फिर जेडीएस कांग्रेस की गोदी में सत्ता के लिए बैठ गई और दोनों ने सरकार बनाई। अब बताइए जेडीएस किसकी बी टीम है? जरा बताइए ना जनता को।
ये जो अपशब्द राहुल जी ने मोदी जी के लिए कहे, आपकी पार्टी इसको एक एंटी ओबीसी कलर भी देने की कोशिश कर रही है, ऐसा क्यों?
देखिए, उन्होंने मोदी जी को नहीं कहा है। पूरा भाषण आप सुन लीजिए
जी,
और मेरे इंटरव्यू के पहले चलाकर भी दिखाइएगा तो लोग भी सुने। उन्होंने मोदी समाज मतलब तेली समाज में सभी लोग क्यों चोर होते हैं ऐसा एग्जैक्ट नहीं कहा। उन्होंने ये कहा कि सारे चोरों का सरनेम मोदी क्यों होता है, ये कहा है
जी।
तो वो उन्होंने ओबीसी समाज का ही जानबूझकर अपमान किया है। इसमें पार्टी के बनाने का सवाल नहीं है, उन्होंने बोला ही ऐसा है। और जो महाशय कोर्ट में गई इसके खिलाफ, स्टेटमेंट के खिलाफ, उनका कंटेंशन भी वही है और जजमेंट का सार भी वही है।
आगे ये भी कह रहे हैं कि मैं कोई सावरकर नहीं हूं जो माफी मांगू, गांधी माफी नहीं मांगते, इसको आप कैसे देखते हैं?
देखिए, उनको माफी नहीं मांगनी है तो बेल भी नहीं जमा कराना था। महात्मा गांधी ने किया था एक बार, अंग्रेजों ने उनको सजा करी तो कहे मैं पेनल्टी नहीं भरूंगा, माफी नहीं मांगूंगा, पेनल्टी नहीं भरूंगा, दंड भी नहीं भरूंगा, सब कर दिया। तो इन्होंने भी करना चाहिए था। मेरी जानकारी जो है 15,000 रुपए का मुचरका भरकर वो बेल लिए हैं
जी।
और दूसरा, माफी न मांगनी हो तो न मांगे, मगर सावरकर जी के लिए इस प्रकार के शब्द नहीं करने चाहिए। मैं इतना कह सकता हूं कि इस देश के लिए ज्यादा से ज्यादा यातनाएं सहने वाले व्यक्तियों में से एक वीर सावरकर। पूरे आजादी के संग्राम के अंदर एक ही व्यक्ति ऐसी है जिसको एक साथ 2 जन्म टिप की सजाएं हुई
जी।
ऐसे वीर हुतात्मा के लिए आज इस प्रकार के शब्द प्रयोग करना, और शायद हम पर उनको भरोसा ना हो, वो अपनी दादी के भाषण सावरकर जी के लिए पढ़ ले कि इंदिरा जी क्या कहती थी। वो पढ़ लेंगे तो उनको मालूम पड़ेगा। उनके साथी भी उनको कह रहे हैं, शिवसेना शरद पवार सब एडवाइस कर रहे हैं
जी। अमित जी, अभी तक ममता बनर्जी और केजरीवाल जो है कांग्रेस के साथ नहीं थे। इस मुद्दे को लेकर वो भी अब राहुल गांधी के और कांग्रेस के साथ खड़े हुए हैं। एक तरीके से ऑपोजिशन जो है एक साथ एकजुट हो गई है इस मुद्दे को लेकर।
देखिए राहुल जी, हर बार ये सवाल मैं जब से राष्ट्रीय राजनीति में आए आ रहा है। मुझे एक बताओ, ये दोनों साथ में आ गए, ठीक है, कोई भी प्लेटफॉर्म पर आ गए, बंगाल में क्या करेंगे? केजरीवाल जी क्या दिल्ली की सीट राहुल जी के लिए छोड़ देंगे क्या? साथ में आने का क्या मतलब है भाई? कोई मतलब नहीं, सब एक दूसरे के खिलाफ लड़ रहे हैं, क्या साथ में आए? एक बात है कि मोदी का विरोध करने के लिए सब साथ में दिखाई पड़ते हैं। अब ठीक ही है, हमें कोई आपत्ति नहीं है।
अब इसी बात को लेकर सारा ऑपोजिशन कह रहा है कि देश में लोकतंत्र खतरे में है। इस तरह का जो है ये नैरेटिव वेस्टर्न मीडिया के भी कुछ सेक्शंस में उठ जाता है। तो क्या इस डिस्क्वालिफिकेशन के मुद्दे को लेकर आपको लगता है ऐसे नैरेटिव को कुछ बल मिलेगा? कुछ
नहीं, मगर ये लोकतंत्र जब लालू जी डिस्क्वालीफाई हुए तब खतरे में क्यों नहीं पड़ा? अभी एनसीपी के एक सांसद डिस्क्वालीफाई हुए थे, मोहम्मद फैजल
जी,
तब क्यों खतरे में नहीं पड़ा? श्रीमती कुमारी जयललिता जब डिस्क्वालीफाई हो गई थी तब खतरे में क्यों नहीं पड़ा? सिर्फ गांधी परिवार से ही खतरा खड़ा होता है क्या?
Friends, we are the most functional democracy in the world. There be no doubt about it. There is no democracy in the world that is constitutionally evolved at the level of panchayat, municipalities, state, and center. We have constitutional prescription in the shape of Part 9 of the Constitution for panchayats and 9 capital A for municipalities. No world government can claim to have such a vibrant, functional democracy reflecting diversity and unity simultaneously. Our constitutional institutions are spinally strong and independent. We are proud of our judicial system. Where on the planet you'll get a Supreme Court which can act with lightning speed and grant relief when someone is accused of defamation? Where on earth? Where will you get a Supreme Court that will sit over time? We have finest judges, and the Chief Justice has unimpeachable credentials with global image. None in the world has legitimacy or credentials to lesson us on this aspect. Of late, some are engaged into it. I wouldn't say more, because in our country we have effective government, and we have seen in last few months how effectively our External Affairs Minister has reflected on those issues in public domain, in the country and outside. But those so engaged need to look within and revisit their thoughts. But what is painful, worrisome, and concerning, that some amongst us are engaged in thoughtless orchestration of sinister campaign to taint and tarnish our democratic institutions. We find sinister forces within and without, functional with pernicious agenda to sully and downsize our growth trajectory, our democratic institutions, and run down our success. You will not find a parallel in the world where people holding positions of power would go to other country, other geographical locales to run down their own country. We all need to reflect on this. We need to be cognizant of virtual intense warfare against India's integrity by well-orchestrated global machinery functioning within and outside the country. One can see an entire ecosystem aimed at handicapping our growth, attacking India's legitimacy as nation-state, its constitutional institutions, including the parliament, is becoming a favorite pastime, even of some of us. I am sure thinking minds in the country will be alive and take all steps to contain and combat such pernicious tendency. An intense assault on India's values, integrity, and institutions is emanating from well-maintained incubators. I wouldn't say much, but I'll call upon the media. Look at South Asia studies in an Ivy League university. This is being funded by our billionaires. Even the government in 2008 funded it. And the same is also being done by our northern neighbor. But look at their activities with respect to our nation and with respect to that nation. It's a cause of concern and worry. Should we be funding those whose only agenda is to thoughtlessly, in a designed manner, run down this nation? I am sure my friends in journalism, and I'm sure I'm their friend, so are they mine, will reflect on this, engage in due diligence, and let the people of this country know all about this. This ecosystem to combat India's growth trajectory must not be allowed to go unnoticed. And that can happen only when we react. Such orchestrated narratives are disseminated. And this is, I seek pardon of the journalistic fraternity. Orchestration emanating in a sinister manner with pernicious design is put in high decibel and disseminated by media and intelligentsia.
Let's talk a little bit about domestic politics as well, because as you said some time back, there's a lot of interest outside about domestic politics, and of course in India also there's a lot of interest about what's happening around the world. Your parliamentary colleague, Mr. Rahul Gandhi, the leader of the Congress party, he made some comments while he was abroad. There was a backlash to those comments. Your party basically wanted him to apologize, and then subsequently now there's a court conviction and he's been disqualified. I want to know your...
Sorry, the two are not related.
The two are not related. Fair enough. I'm just
so that we are clear.
Chronological order of what's happened with Mr. Gandhi over the last couple of weeks. I want, first of all, your reaction to the disqualification and what the opposition is saying, that look, this sort of proves what we've been saying all along. The Modi government is illiberal, it's an electoral autocracy, opposition's not being allowed to talk. How would you respond to them?
So, let's assume I have a counterpart or a colleague, or I go abroad and somebody asks me what you're asking. How would I put it? I mean, that's essentially what you're asking me. I guess I would say that 4 years ago, Rahul Gandhi was disparaging of a community in a public meeting. This is not me saying it, it's on record. A member of that community took offense and began legal proceedings. Rahul Gandhi had an opportunity of rectifying the situation, of expressing regret. He chose not to do so. The legal proceedings then produced an outcome. The outcome triggered a law which I would remind you Rahul Gandhi himself had in a way supported some years ago. A law that has been applied, I think, to about 10, 12 other elected representatives, including of the ruling party. So my answer to somebody who asked me this would be the law is the law. Unless somebody thinks the law is not the law for them. I mean, that's...
Okay. Has anybody asked you this? Have any foreign diplomats or governments asked you this? But if they do, this would be your answer.
I'm practicing it on you, and if there is a...
Nice to know that you've equated me to a foreign diplomat. But let's, because the reason I ask you this is because there are ramifications of what he's saying and the narrative that the opposition wants to build. You have been vehemently opposing that narrative that's been constructed, some of which has been fed into by some sections of the Western press, that, since 2014, India has become an illiberal country, an electoral autocracy. You don't fear that this actions of the last 10 days or so feed into that narrative?
Look, my sense is those who are feeding that narrative, are people with an agenda. They're not stupid people, okay? So they will misrepresent facts, or they would, twist things, because it's part of developing a narrative. I'll give you some examples. If you look at some of these think tanks and reports which would come out, many of them would suggest to you as though there's a whole problem around Assam, which started with Narendra Modi as Prime Minister. Okay, you and I know it goes back to Indira Gandhi's time. But that's not the way the narrative is now, the sleight of hand which happens. They would say, that a former Chief Justice now entering Parliament is somehow not well reflective of the judiciary. They won't tell you it's happened before, and not, yeah. So, the beauty of these narratives is, what you shade, what you suppress, what you sharpen, then you stitch it around. Now, yes, for people who do all of this, they would certainly use it. But to which I would turn around and ask them, saying, so tell me, does that mean this law, after being applied to 10 or 12 other people, should not apply in this case? And in this particular case, this law and this application has a certain past.
Yeah.
So I think we need to recognize today that a lot of what passes off as debate, what is often suggested as an analysis of the state of the Indian polity, is actually politics.
It's not analysis, it's more politics.
It is, absolutely.
कांग्रेस तो ये भी बोल रही है कि आपका ये कहना है कि ये जो डिस्क्वालिफिकेशन हुआ है राहुल गांधी का, उसका कर्नाटक में वो फायदा उठाना चाहते हैं।
देखिए, डिस्क्वालिफिकेशन और कर्नाटक के चुनाव की नतीजा 13 मई को आ ही जाएगा। इससे पहले तो एक बहुत बड़ा हाइप क्रिएट किया गया था भारत जोड़ो की समय में। उस समय में गुजरात की चुनाव हुआ, उस समय में उसके बाद पोस्ट भारत जोड़ो नॉर्थ ईस्ट में चुनाव हुआ। सीपीएम और कांग्रेस दोनों मिलकर चुनाव लड़े त्रिपुरा में। इसकी नतीजा हम सबके सामने है। कुछ लोगों के मन में ये एक धारणा है हमारा लिए एक अलग आईपीसी बने, हमारा लिए एक अलग कानून व्यवस्था हो। ये मेरे अभिमत नहीं है, मेरा ओपिनियन नहीं है। उस पार्टी के जिम्मेवार नेता कहते हैं उस खानदान के ऊपर कैसे केस हो सकता है। आप भारत की आईपीसी को चैलेंज करोगे, उसमें आप गुनहगार साबित होगे जुडिशियल प्रोसेस में, आपके ऊपर अगर कार्रवाई होती है तो आप एंटाइटलमेंट के आधार पे आपकी खानदानी अधिकार जताओगे। देश में तो डेमोक्रेसी आ चुका है।
लेकिन ये एंटी ओबीसी का जो आप लोग बोल रहे हैं कि राहुल गांधी एंटी ओबीसी हैं, एक पूरा कैंपेन चलेगा पूरा देश भर में, तो अगर इफ यू फील दैट राहुल गांधी हैज नो इम्पैक्ट, देन व्हाई दिस कैंपेन?
नो, विषय उन्होंने ओबीसी समाज को गाली दिया था, एक वर्ग का नाम लेके कहा था, अपशब्द लगाया था जो भारत की कानूनी व्यवस्था में गुनाह है। इसी के कारण उनके ऊपर केस हुआ। ओबीसी समाज को उन्होंने गाली दिया था। मैं एक बात कहता हूं, कांग्रेस पार्टी, ये राहुल गांधी जी पहली बार नहीं कर रहे हैं। कई बार उन्होंने कोर्ट की सामने माफी मांगना पड़ा उनको। इस बार भी जो असेसमेंट, जो खबरें आ रही है न्यूज़पेपर के माध्यम से, कोर्ट उनको कहने वाला था कि आप माफी मांग के यहां से निकल सकते हो, लेकिन जो एरोगेंसी है, जो अहंकार है, हम कैसे माफी मांगेंगे। इसीलिए हम कहते हैं कि आप एक जाति को गाली दोगे, और आप ये पहली बार नहीं कर रहे हो। हम ये ना भूले 2013 की एआईसीसी की कॉन्फ्रेंस के समय में मणिशंकर आयर जी ने कहा था कि ये प्रधानमंत्री बनेगा नरेंद्र मोदी, भारतीय जनता पार्टी। तब मोदी जी को लीडर करके घोषित किया, इनकी नेतृत्व में हम लोकसभा की चुनाव लड़ेंगे। कांग्रेस पार्टी की रिएक्शन क्या था? ये आए, हमारे वहाँ चाय बेचे, हम उनको स्टॉल बनाने के लिए स्थान दे देंगे। ये फ्यूडल माइंडसेट की रिफ्लेक्शन है। आप भारत की, आपके खानदान के अलावा अब जिस कानून पे ये फंसे हैं, उन्हीं की पार्टी जब 2014 तक दायित्व में था, देश के प्रधानमंत्री मनमोहन सिंह जी होते थे, मनमोहन सिंह जी की विदेश दौरा था, उन्हीं की सरकार एक ऑर्डिनेंस लाया था, कैबिनेट में उसको अप्रूव भी किया था। उस ऑर्डिनेंस को युवराज साहब ने नॉनसेंस कह के फाड़ा था, आप लोगों के सामने फाड़ा था। अभी कपिल सिब्बल जी इसके ऊपर लेख भी लिखे हैं कि देखो समय कुछ नहीं छोड़ता है किसी को। आपकी जो माइंडसेट है, देश में सभी के लिए सभी अधिकार समान है, कानून सबके लिए समान रहेगा, यह भारत के सब नागरिकों को मंजूर है, उनके खानदान को मंजूर नहीं है, उनकी चापलूसकारों को मंजूर नहीं है, उनकी गुमास्ताओं को मंजूर नहीं है।
आपने राहुल गांधी का नाम लिया, उनका जो डेफेमेशन का केस में उनको सेंटेंस हुआ है और उसके बाद उनकी लोकसभा से डिस्क्वालिफिकेशन हुई है, उस पर बड़ा बवाल हो गया है। और अब 2 कंट्रीज ऐसी हैं, यूएसए और जर्मनी, जिन्होंने कुछ जवाब भी दिया है। उनका जवाब अब किस तरह से लेते हैं ये भी बताइए हमें। उन्होंने बोला कि वो केस को देख रहे हैं, भारत में कैसे चल रहा है, दैट जुडिशियल इंडिपेंडेंस इज वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट। बट हुआ ये है कि दिग्विजय सिंह सीनियर कांग्रेस लीडर ने उनका धन्यवाद किया है कि उन्होंने इस बात को नोटिस किया है और इस पे टिप्पणी करी है। बीजेपी ये कहती रहती है कि राहुल गांधी ने फॉरेन इंटरवेंशन की बात करी थी, तो क्या ये फॉरेन इंटरवेंशन लग रहा है आपको?
देश का अपमान करने में कांग्रेस कहीं पीछे नहीं रहती। लोकतांत्रिक, राजनीतिक और कानूनी लड़ाई जब देश में नहीं लड़ पाए तो विदेशी जमीन पर जाकर विदेशी एजेंसियों की और विदेशी सरकारों की मदद मांगने में राहुल गांधी जी और कांग्रेस पीछे नहीं रही। यह भारत के लोकतंत्र पर हमले से कम नहीं है और इसका जीता जाता सबूत अब दिग्विजय सिंह जी ने दे दिया है। जब राहुल गांधी जी लंदन में थे, कैम्ब्रिज में बोल रहे थे, तो मैंने कहा था लंदन लाइज एंड कैम्ब्रिज क्राइज से बाहर आ जाना चाहिए राहुल गांधी जी को। आज फिर कहता हूं, यह कांग्रेस का रोना धोना, क्या राहुल गांधी पहले ऐसे व्यक्ति हैं जिनको सजा सुनाई गई और जिनका इस्तीफा हुआ है? मैं आज ये केवल कागज इसलिए लेकर आया हूं सारे के सारे, ये 2013 से लेकर आज तक जिन 13-14 लोगों को भ्रष्टाचार के मामले में सजा हुई और उनको अपनी विधानसभा से और लोकसभा और राज्यसभा की सदस्यता से इस्तीफा देना पड़ा, उन सबके चिट्ठे यहां पे श्रीमान राहुल गांधी जी से लेकर लालू प्रसाद यादव जी तक हैं। क्या राहुल गांधी जी तब रोए थे जब लालू प्रसाद यादव को जेल हुई थी?
उन्होंने
क्या
तो
तब हुए थे जब तब जयललिता जी को मुख्यमंत्री रहते इस्तीफा देना पड़ा था? जब जगजीत शर्मा से लेकर बाकी सांसदों को इस्तीफा देना पड़ा? क्या राहुल गांधी के लिए देश में नया कानून बने? क्या एक व्यक्ति देश और संसद से बड़ा हो गया, देश से बड़ा हो गया है? उनका अहंकार उनको आज यहां तक लेकर आया है।
कांग्रेस में अब लोग ये कहने लगे हैं, इनफैक्ट कुछ एमिनेंट पर्सनालिटीज ने भी बोला है कि ये कानून वाकई में बहुत ज्यादा सीरियस है और ऐसे डिस्क्वालिफिकेशन नहीं होनी चाहिए 2 साल की सजा होने पर, और वो भी डेफेमेशन जैसे केस पे। तो एक्चुअली इस कानून पर विचार करने की जरूरत है।
अरे भाई, जब इनकी सरकार के समय सुप्रीम कोर्ट ने लिली थॉमस केस में जजमेंट दी थी, तब राहुल गांधी जी की सरकार उस समय ऑर्डिनेंस ला रही थी। ये श्रीमान राहुल गांधी जी ने हाई मॉरल ग्राउंड लेते उसके ऑर्डिनेंस को फाड़ा था। आज जेल में है, आज जेल सजा हुई है इनको 2 साल की।
आप बार बार ये कहते हैं कि वो विदेशी देशों के सामने घुटने टेक रहे हैं, लेकिन कांग्रेस ये कहती है कि उन्होंने तो कभी इंटरवेंशन मांगा ही नहीं, और अभी भी अगर वो बात कर रहे हैं तो सिर्फ यही कह रहे हैं कि दूसरे देशों को देखना चाहिए कि भारत में क्या हो रहा है, क्योंकि भारत में अब डेमोक्रेसी नहीं है, तो दुनिया को फर्क पड़ना चाहिए इससे।
क्या भारत के संवैधानिक संस्थाओं में कांग्रेस का विश्वास खत्म हो गया है? ये बार बार प्रश्न चिन्ह खड़ा करते हैं सुप्रीम कोर्ट पर, बार बार इलेक्शन कमीशन ऑफ इंडिया पर, ईवीएम पर, सेबी पर, आरबीआई पर, बाकी संस्थाओं पर। इनको किसी के ऊपर भरोसा ही नहीं रहा। इन 75 वर्षों में जिन संस्थाओं के कारण भारत आगे बढ़ता गया, भारत की क्रेडिबिलिटी बढ़ी। दुनिया के किसी देश में इतना दम नहीं कि 140 करोड़ के देश में इतने साफ सुथरे चुनाव करवा लें। आप किसी राज्य में जीत जाएं तो ईवीएम ठीक है, आप हार गए तो ईवीएम में खराबी है।
केंद्रीय पार्लियामेंट्री बोर्ड के मेंबर है, चुनाव समिति के मेंबर हैं, और भारतीय जनता पार्टी ने उनकी वरिष्ठता को कभी क्वेश्चन नहीं किया। हम ऐसी पार्टी नहीं है कि जो पावर पर नहीं है उसको दरकिनार कर देते हैं। हमारे यहाँ जो वरिष्ठ नेता होता है उनका सम्मान पावर में हो या न हो, सम्मान होता है। और आज भी मैं कह रहा हूं सबके सामने कि येदियुरप्पा जी बहुत बड़े आकर्षण के साथ स्टार कैंपेनर की भूमिका कर्नाटक के अंदर निभाएंगे और उन्होंने वो कर्नाटक असेंबली में भी स्पष्ट कर दिया है।
जी, तो अगर जीत कर वापस आएंगे तो बोम्मई जी वापस मुख्यमंत्री बनेंगे?
देखिए, वो तो पार्टी तय करेगी, अभी पार्टी में इस प्रकार की कोई चर्चा नहीं हुई है। पर बोम्मई जी हमारे मुख्यमंत्री है, बहुत अच्छा काम किया है और अच्छे से चला रहे हैं। और येदियुरप्पा जी और बोम्मई के कालखंड के अंदर जो कुछ भी कर्नाटक में डेवलपमेंट के काम हुए, इसके आधार पर हम फिर से निश्चित रूप से चुनकर आएंगे। और कर्नाटक की जनता डबल इंजन सरकार चाहती है। मोदी जी की योजनाओं को, मोदी जी के कार्यक्रमों को और मोदी जी के विजन को नीचे इंप्लीमेंट करे, इस प्रकार की समान विचार सरणी वाली सरकार कर्नाटक की जनता चाहती है और परिणाम भी इसी प्रकार के आए।
जेडीएस ने करीब 150 लोगों की लिस्ट जारी कर दी है, कांग्रेस ने भी करीब 125 कैंडिडेट घोषित कर दिए हैं। आप लोगों ने अभी तक कोई लिस्ट जारी नहीं की, तो कहीं ना कहीं कोई चौंकाने वाली कोई
नहीं, चौंकाने वाला कुछ नहीं होता। हमारे यहाँ एक पद्धति तय है, जिले को सुनते हैं, फिर प्रदेश में इस पर चर्चा होता है, फिर यहाँ पर आता है और केंद्रीय पार्लियामेंट्री बोर्ड निर्णय करता है। वहाँ परिवारों को सुनना है, 5 परिवार इकट्ठा बैठ जाते, और जेडीएस में तो 5 भी नहीं बैठना, एक ही परिवार बैठ जाए तो सारे फैसले हो जाते देवगौड़ा जी का। और यहाँ 3-4 परिवार बैठ जाए तो फैसला, तो उनके लिए बड़ा सरल है। हमारे यहाँ लाखों कार्यकर्ताओं से चरणबद्ध चर्चा करनी होती है तो थोड़ी देर लगती है भैया, हम थोड़े स्लो भी है।
जेडीएस की बात करी तो लोगों का यह भी कहना है कि जेडीएस जो है वो भारतीय जनता पार्टी की बी टीम है, इसको आप कैसे देखते हैं?
देखिए, फिर से एक बार आप स्टडी करे बगैर का सवाल कर रहे हैं। गत चुनाव में हम सबसे ज्यादा सीटों के साथ 1 नंबर की पार्टी बने थे। हमारी 104 सीटें थी, जेडीएस की 34 सीटें थी। और फिर जेडीएस कांग्रेस की गोदी में सत्ता के लिए बैठ गई और दोनों ने सरकार बनाई। अब बताइए जेडीएस किसकी बी टीम है? जरा बताइए ना जनता को।
ये जो अपशब्द राहुल जी ने मोदी जी के लिए कहे, आपकी पार्टी इसको एक एंटी ओबीसी कलर भी देने की कोशिश कर रही है, ऐसा क्यों?
देखिए, उन्होंने मोदी जी को नहीं कहा है,